Okay, so today we're going deep on something that's actually all around us, but we don't often think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden in plain sight, right?
Totally. We're talking about UX and UI design.
The stuff that makes or breaks our experience with apps and websites every single day.
And I'm really excited to bring in your expertise on this one. You sent over some really cool info on a company called ColutionX, and they're doing some pretty amazing things in this space, especially when it comes to mobile apps.
They really are.
But before we get into all that, I think it's worth asking, like, why should we even care about UX and UI? I mean, it's just like buttons and colors, right?
Well, it might seem that way on the surface, but trust me, it goes so much deeper than that. Think about it this way. You're trying to book a flight on an airline app,
In there.
and you're frantically tapping and swiping, but the app is laggy, the buttons are tiny, and you can't find what you're looking for. Suddenly, your dream vacation is turning into a digital nightmare, right?
Uh, yeah, totally. I actually just went through that trying to book a hotel. It was the worst.
And that's bad UX UI in action. It's more than just an inconvenience. It can actually make us abandon an app altogether.
Oh, absolutely. If it takes me more than a few seconds to figure something out, I'm out. I just go find another app that does it better.
Exactly, and that's what makes that statistic you shared so powerful. A whopping 88% of users will abandon an app after just one bad experience.
88%? That's crazy. But it totally makes sense.
It does. Companies are losing customers and potentially tons of money because they're not investing in good UX UI. They might have a great product or service, but if the user experience is terrible, it won't matter.
Okay, so let's break down these terms a bit. UX and UI. What exactly are they? I feel like everyone throws them around, but not many people actually understand the difference.
Well, you're right. They are often used interchangeably, but there's a distinct difference. UX, or user experience, focuses on the overall feeling a user gets when using a website, app, or product.
Okay, so it's about how easy it is to use, whether it's enjoyable, if it's actually solving the user's problem, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's the big picture. How does the user feel? Are they frustrated, satisfied, confused?
Okay, got it. So then what about UI?
UI stands for user interface, and it's more about the nuts and bolts of the design. It's the look and feel, the layout, the typography, the colors, the buttons, all the visual and interactive elements the user directly interacts with.
So to put it simply, if UX is the overall experience, UI is the tools that shape that experience, right?
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine you're going to a concert. UX is the whole experience, the music, the atmosphere, the crowd, the memories you make. UI is the stage setup, the lighting, the sound system, the things that contribute to that overall experience.
That's a great analogy. I love going to concerts.
Right.
Okay, so then let's talk about why these things are so important, especially when it comes to mobile apps.
Okay, so with mobile apps, we have some unique challenges. Users are on the go, they might only have a few minutes to spare. They're using touch screens, which are different from using a mouse on a desktop. And of course, they're working with much smaller screens.
Yeah, if I have to pinch and zoom 100 times just to read some text, I'm going to lose it.
Exactly. So good UX UI design for mobile means making everything super intuitive, clear, and easy to navigate. You have to make sure the layout works on different screen sizes, the buttons are big enough to tap easily, the text is readable.
It's like every tap and swipe has to have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
No wasted movements.
You got it. And that's where a company like ColutionX really shines. They really emphasize seamless navigation and responsive design, especially for their mobile app projects.
So can you unpack those terms a bit? Like, what do those things actually look like in the real world?
Sure. Think of a food delivery app. Seamless navigation means you can effortlessly browse through restaurants, menus, and options without getting lost or confused. Everything flows smoothly from one step to the next. And responsive design means the app adjusts perfectly to your screen size, whether you're on a small phone or a large tablet.
Oh, okay, so it's like the app is smart enough to know what device I'm using and adjust accordingly.
Exactly. And it's also smart enough to anticipate what you might need next, offering suggestions and making the whole process super smooth.
And ColutionX, you're saying they're really good at making this happen.
They're one of the best. Another thing they really nail is designing for the target audience.
Well, that seems pretty basic, right? I mean, you'd think every designer would consider who they're designing for.
You'd think so, but you'd be surprised how often it's overlooked. ColutionX really goes deep to understand their target audience. They do a lot of research, user testing, they analyze user behavior, and they really try to get into the heads of the people who will be using the app.
So it's like they're not just designing a beautiful app, they're designing a useful app that actually solves a specific problem for a specific group of people.
Precisely. And that's why it's so important. Remember that 88% statistic. By really understanding their target audience, companies like ColutionX can drastically reduce that number.
Right. Keep people from rage quitting the app.
Exactly. And they're able to do that because they really think about the user journey. They map out every single step a user might take within the app and make sure each step is intuitive, clear, and enjoyable.
So it's not just about the app looking pretty, it's about it actually working well and meeting the user's needs.
Right. It's about understanding the user's goals and making it as easy as possible for them to achieve those goals.
Now, they also talk a lot about the mobile-first approach. What is that exactly?
Well, in the past, companies would design their websites for desktops first, and then try to adapt them for mobile later.
Which always seemed kind of backwards to me.
It was, but now, with so many people using their phones for everything, it makes much more sense to design for mobile first.
So are you saying even if you have a website, you should design the mobile version first?
Exactly. Because you're forced to prioritize what's most important. You have to be really strategic about what features and content you include. You can't just cram everything in like you can on a desktop.
So it's kind of like streamlining the whole experience from the get-go.
Exactly. And then once you have a solid mobile design, it's much easier to adapt it for larger screens.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Now, another thing ColutionX emphasizes is creating a consistent experience across different devices and regions. Can you give me an example of what that might look like in practice?
Sure. Imagine a user who travels frequently for work. They might be using their laptop in their hotel room, then their phone on the plane, then their tablet in a meeting.
Happens all the time.
Right. Now imagine if each time they switched devices, the website or app they were using looked and behaved completely differently. It would be super frustrating, right?
Oh, yeah, totally disorienting. I'd probably just give up.
Exactly. So ColutionX aims to create a seamless experience no matter what device you're using. The layout, the navigation, the overall design language all stays consistent.
So it's familiar and comfortable, even on a new device.
Exactly, and that applies to different regions as well. ColutionX works with global companies that have users all over the world, so they have to consider things like language, currency, and even cultural nuances to make sure the experience feels relevant and intuitive for everyone.
So it's like personalized globalization.
You could say that. It's about striking that balance between providing a consistent brand experience while also catering to the specific needs of different users around the world.
Makes sense. Now, one last thing I want to touch on is accessibility. How does ColutionX ensure their designs are inclusive and usable for everyone, regardless of ability?
That's such an important question, and it's something ColutionX takes very seriously. They build accessibility right into their design process from the very beginning.
So it's not an afterthought like, oh, we forgot about people with disabilities. Let's tack on some features at the end.
Exactly. They consider accessibility from day one. And that means thinking about things like color contrast for people with visual impairments, making sure the font sizes are adjustable, providing alternative text descriptions for images so screen readers can interpret them. They also ensure that all functionality can be accessed using a keyboard for people who can't use a mouse.
So they're really trying to create a truly universal design that works for everyone.
Precisely. They believe everyone should be able to access and enjoy the digital world, regardless of their abilities.
I love that. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the difference between UX and UI, why they're so important, especially for mobile apps, and how a company like ColutionX is pushing the boundaries in this field. But now I want to turn it over to you, the listener.
Yeah, what about you?
What are some of your favorite apps and websites? And what is it about their design that keeps you coming back for more? Think about it. What makes them so enjoyable to use?
And here's another question to ponder. Is it even possible to design for everyone? What are the challenges, and how might technology help us overcome them in the future?
Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe AI will play a role creating personalized experiences that adapt to each individual user's needs.
Or maybe we'll see brain-computer interfaces that allow us to control apps and websites with our minds.
Whoa, now that's next level. But the point is, UX/UI design is constantly evolving, and it's something that affects all of us. The more we understand these principles, the more we can appreciate good design and demand better experiences from the companies we interact with.
Well said.
So next time you're using an app or website, pay attention to the design. Is it intuitive? Is it enjoyable? Does it make you want to keep coming back for more? If not, you know why.
And you know who to call.
Exactly. All right, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Till next time.